Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to what will be an amazing lunch with an amazing American hero, our United States Senator, Senator John Kennedy. Give it up for Senator Kennedy. I'm Roy Heatherly, and I'm President and CEO of the Monroe Chamber of Commerce, and it is a beautiful day in Monroe, Louisiana, in Sterlington and West Monroe and Richwood, all over the quadruplex, as Mayor Brown would say, Ouachita Parish and all over Northeast Louisiana. We are blessed to live in this great community. I'm going to quote our guest of honor today. Senator, you once said, "God has blessed me in so many ways, but getting to call Louisiana home is one of the blessings I love most." And with all due respect to that, I'm going to paraphrase that just a minute. And I'm going to say, for all of us in this room, God has blessed each of us in this room in so many ways, but getting to call Northeast Louisiana home is one of the biggest blessings we love most. Thank you, Senator. Ladies and gentlemen, we are blessed to live in the greatest community in the world. I'm going to repeat that. We are blessed to live in the greatest community in the room. Look around the room. Look at all of you. You've been glad-handed. You've been mingling and everything like that. Look at this head table. You are the game changers. You are the difference makers. You are the reason the rest of the world wakes up every morning in a jealous rage that they're not part of this great renaissance that's happening right here in Northeast Louisiana. Now, I hope you've had the opportunity to finish the outstanding lunch from Roy Arthur and our friends at Monroe's. If you've not, I'm going to ask you to pause a minute. I'm going to ask everybody to stand. Hold on. There's three things we're going to do. All right, we're going to do the invocation, keep standing. We're going to do the pledge, keep standing. And then we're going to celebrate our guest of honor, and I want you to keep standing after the pledge. So everybody, if you would, please stand up as I call Pastor John O'Leary, Executive Pastor, First Methodist Monroe, a proud Monroe Chamber Board member, and my good friend to leave us in the invocation and the flag right over here afterwards, the pledge. Pastor John.
Hey, I just left another event where we said this together. Let's see if y'all can do it. We have a saying that says, God is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
God is good.
Let's pray. God, you're good, and we celebrate that today. I celebrate those who have come here to collectively celebrate that, God, in your goodness and in your provision and in your grace, you are leading, guiding, and transforming our community. May you be glorified in the talents that you gave in the first place. Would you be glorified in the hard work and the efforts of coming together and saying, hey, it's not about me, but it's about what do we together bring to the table to glorify the name of God. Lord, we celebrate you. We celebrate your provision, your goodness, and your grace. And God, now we look to you to continue to work together for the good of our community and ultimately for your glory. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and all God's people said,
Amen.
The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I told you to keep, I was going to tell you to sit down. Don't do that. Okay, so everybody still standing? Okay. Senator Kennedy, would you sit? Do you mind sitting? Sit, please. We want you to sit. So, no, you're fine. Senator Kennedy, we are honored you are with us today. We are blessed by your courage, by your leadership, by your love of our country and for all of us. And I'm going to read two quotes that I think sum up your leadership and that love for all of us. The first one is, wisdom is knowing the right path to take. Wit is taking it with a smile. Senator, we appreciate your wisdom, and we really appreciate the wit that you share with us every single day. In fact, Senator, many days you bring the joy of laughter and common sense to us, and this world desperately needs it, and we really appreciate it. And Senator, I'm going to guarantee that 99.9% of this room do not need the instructions on the back of a shampoo bottle. So. And the second quote is, strong people stand up for themselves, but stronger people stand up for others. Senator, we watch you every day stand up for all of us and for this country, and sir, we thank you for that. So Senator, like all things we do in Monroe, Northeast Louisiana, we celebrate, and today we're going to celebrate you. So I'm going to ask everybody to grab your flags. You know the drill. Grab your flags. that you're sitting there, and I'm going to count to 3, 2, 1, and we're going to give him, start waving your flags now so we can see it. Look how beautiful that is. And I'm going to count 3, 2, 1, Senator, we're going to give you the loudest cheer. We're going to blow the roof off Bayou Point, and I think President Trump may hear this crowd cheer, okay? So y'all ready? Start waving them, waving them, waving them. I wish you could see how beautiful this is. 3, 2, 1, hey! And y'all did perfect. You may have a seat. Thank you very much. You like that? All right, there you go. All right, so I'm going to introduce this head table. I'm going to be beginning someone who you just met, Pastor John O'Reilly, but soon to be Dr. Reverend John O'Reilly. Next to him is Dr. Justin Hoggard. What'd I call you? O'Reilly? I'll get paid back this Sunday, I know. Okay, I know that. oh, my time's coming. Dr. Justin Hoggard, Chancellor of the #1 community college in the country, Louisiana Delta Community College. Dr. Dixie Toop Rollins, President of VCOM. Dr. Rollins, thank you for being here. Thank you for being at all our events. And I want to remind everybody, the white coat ceremony is October 17th at VCOM. So thank you again, Dr. Rollins. Dr. Kerry Castile, President of our University of Louisiana at Monroe, the real University of Louisiana. And Dr. Castile, wow, man, you are crushing it. Your energy and enthusiasm is contagious. And a reminder, in 2 days at 6 o'clock, we kick off at Malone Stadium, and it's a whiteout. So wear your white there, come early and tailgate with all of us. Next to her is Ami Kane, the 2025 Board Chair of the Monroe Chamber of Commerce and Regional Vice President of Mission Integration and Formation for St. Francis Health and St. Dominic Health. Next to me, to my right, your left, the Honorable Friday Ellis, Mayor of the great city of Monroe. Next to him, our honored guest, United States Senator John Kennedy, who will be formally introduced by Ami in just a minute. Next to Senator Kennedy is the Honorable Matt Talbert, Mayor of the super town of Sterlington. Next to Mayor Talbert is the Honorable Gerald Brown, Mayor of the wonderful town of Richwood. Next to Mayor Brown is the Honorable Stacy Mitchell, Mayor of the fantastic city of West Monroe. And next to her is the Honorable Lonnie Hudson, Vice President of our outstanding Ouachita Parish Police Jury. On the screen, you're going to see a lot of Hall of Fame businesses that are here in Northeast Louisiana. We also call them sponsors. If you see them, tell them thank you. And right now, let's give them a round of applause. I also want to recognize there's so many elected people that are here right now. If you could stand or wave and everything, we appreciate all you all do for us every single day by jumping into the arena. Stand up, all you elected people. Come on, wave. We want to give you a round of applause. Look at that. See? I told you, there's a bunch of them here. We appreciate y'all so much. And then we'd like to recognize some members of Senator Kennedy's staff. Our good friend Hannah Livingston, Deputy State Director and Service Academy Coordinator. Hannah is at every single event we have that the city of West Monroe, the West Monroe Chamber, the city of Monroe. She's everywhere, Senator. She's great. She represents you well. Also representing you well is our good friend Murphy Chestnut, who's your Regional Director and Advisor. Murphy, where are you right now? Hey, hey. There you are, Murphy. All right. Chris Rosato, Regional Representative, right there. Stand up, Chris. Where are you at? Are you over here? No? Okay. All right. Anyway, give all his staff a round of applause. To begin our program, we're going to ask each of the mayors to come up and give a quick welcome from their city and town. We believe it's important that we show the senator that the unity and collaboration happening in our area. Each will speak in the following order. Mayor Ellis, Mayor Talbert, Mayor Brown, Mayor Mitchell, and then Police Juror Hudson. I'm not going to reintroduce them, so they're just going to follow each other up, and we're going to start with Mayor Ellis. Mayor Ellis, come on up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Senator, I too gave up on shampoo years ago, just a waste of time. So we believe in hard work around here, and it's just, we get down to it. But Today, we do have the distinct honor of welcoming you to, like what Roy says, one of the greatest areas of Louisiana. Has all of our hearts, and we want to thank you for your steadfast leadership, your personal leadership, and your passion that has proven to us that you're a great leader, sir. Senator Kinney is not just a senator to all of us. He's been a true champion for Monroe and in every corner of the state. His leadership isn't measured in headlines, although he does at times remind us life is a little short to behave, right? But his success is built on hard-won results and improved lives. Recently, Senator Kennedy was fighting to deliver transformative projects here for the city of Monroe that will reshape our infrastructure, support our economy, and secure our future. Recently, he fought to secure $4 million to our sewer lift stations here in Monroe. An additional $7 million for a new Millhaven Interchange mega project, critical to secure our future and our next mega project that lands here in Northeast Louisiana. But these are more than just budget line items. Each of these represent jobs, progress, and a promise of tomorrow. So on behalf of our great city and every resident who stands here before you today, sir, and your tireless advocacy, we want to say thank you and welcome home. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, Senator, it's an honor to welcome you here on behalf of Sterlington back to the area of good people, great food, and common sense. I know there's not a lot of that in Washington, but we're certainly glad to have you here. And I gave Daphne my promise that if Mayor Ellis went over, I wouldn't. So, sir, we're thankful. We look forward to hearing from you today, and thank you for coming to visit us. Thank you.
Yeah, I know Roy likes to set me up. Good afternoon. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Quadruplex collectively and individually. I want to bring you greetings on behalf of the great town of Richwood, Louisiana. We're proud to have you here today. Politicians often get a bad rap. And so I want to illustrate that real quickly with a very quick anecdote, not a story today, just an anecdote. Okay. There was a man who came and parked right in front of the state capitol. Beat up, old, rusty Plymouth. Front windshield was cracked, back glass out, just beat up, just 4 mismatched tires, the whole 9. He parks, the security guard comes out, he's like, sir, you don't need to park here. This is a space where congressmen, senators, even the governor comes right through here. You don't need to park here. And he looks at him real quickly and he says, the guy looks at the security guard and he says, well, it's okay, I'm not worried. I got a car alarm. I just want to let you know, Senator Kennedy, I won't have a problem parking my car around you, okay?
Good afternoon. Senator Kennedy, on behalf of the City of West Monroe and our Board of Aldermen, I do want to say welcome. I also want to say thank you. When I was visiting with you in June in D.C. in your office, I talked about multiple projects, critical infrastructure, and one major project that actually involves not only the City of West Monroe, but most of the west side of the river, because it includes Sewer District Number 5, and you came through. So thank you very much for that. We're successful in that grant. Thank you for how you represent us, Northeast Louisiana, as well as our entire state, and for supporting us and bringing our tax dollars home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Senator Kennedy. On behalf of the Ouachita Parish Police Jury, it is truly an honor and a pleasure to have you here. Today welcomes quite a bit. So with that being said, Senator Kennedy, thank you for your hard work, your dedication for Northeast Louisiana. We want to emphasize on somebody that we met down in your office named Alfonso, the 12-foot alligator. So if you go to Senator Kennedy's office, you're going to see a 12-foot alligator named Alfonso. So Alfonso, me and our administrator, Ms. James, stood by him, and we just hope that our funds will bring some of those funds back home to Northeast Louisiana. So again, we thank you for what you do. We appreciate you, and welcome back to North Louisiana. On behalf of the Ouachita Parish Police Jury, thank you.
Man, thank you all very, very much, and it's my pleasure to bring Ami Kane, the Monroe Chair, up to the microphone to introduce our guest of honor.
Thank you, Roy, and thank you all so much for being here on this beautiful day on the Bayou. It's my pleasure to introduce our U.S. Senator John Kennedy today. John Kennedy was elected to the U.S. Senate in 2016 and re-elected in 2022. He has built a distinguished career as a conservative champion for the people of Louisiana and a dedicated watchdog to taxpayer money. Senator Kennedy serves on the Appropriations, Banking, Budget, and Judiciary Committees in the U.S. Senate. He serves as the top Republican of Appropriations Subcommittee on Energy and Water, Development and Banking and Subcommittee on Economic Policy. During his first term in Senate, Kennedy passed several bills to protect our stock market from foreign corruption, extend flood insurance protection for Louisiana homeowners, stop corrupt lobbyists, and serve disaster relief funds and programs for small businesses. No other Louisiana senator has passed more bills in his or her first term. Prior to his election to Senate, Senator Kennedy served as State Treasurer of Louisiana for 5 terms. As treasurer, he had the privilege of overseeing the state's multi-million-dollar investment portfolios. He also had oversight of local and state bond issues and returned millions of dollars in unclaimed property each year. Senator Kennedy served as Secretary of the Department of Revenue, Special Counsel to the Governor, Governor Romer, and Secretary of Governor Romer's Cabinet. He graduated magna cum laude in political science, philosophy, and economics from Vanderbilt University, was president of his senior class, and was elected to Phi Beta Kappa. He received his law degree from the University of Louisiana, University of Virginia School of Law, where he was an executive director of the Virginia Law Review. And he earned a bachelor's in civil law degree from his first class honors of Oxford University in England, where he studied under Sir Rupert Cross and Sir John H.C. Morris. He went on to practice law in New Orleans and Baton Rouge and has written and published several books and articles on constitutional law, the Louisiana Products Liability Act, and the Federal Power Commission. Senator Kennedy has served as an adjunct professor at Louisiana State University's Paul M. Hebert Law Center from 2002 to 2016, and he has regularly volunteered as a substitute teacher in Louisiana as well, in the public schools. He resides in Madisonville, Louisiana with his wife Becky and their dogs, and the Kennedys are founding members of their local Methodist church. So please join me in welcoming Senator Kennedy.
A banker called an oil man into his office one day, and he said, the banker said to the oil man, he said, you know, I loaned you $1 million to rework all of your old oil wells and they went dry. And the oil man said, yes, that's true. Could have been worse. And then the banker said, I loan you a second $1 million to drill new wells. And they all went dry. The oil man said, yeah, that's true. Could have been worse. And then the banker said, look, after that I loaned you a third $1 million to buy new drilling equipment, and it all broke down. And the oil man said, yeah, that's true. Could have been worse. Well, at this point, the banker's upset. He said, I loaned you $3 million. My bank lost $3 million. And all you can say is it could have been worse. What do you mean it could have been worse? And the old man looked him straight in the eye and said, well, it could have been my money. And that's what Washington, D.C. is like. It's your money. It's such an honor to be here today. I'm so happy to be home. I miss Louisiana so much. You know, as bad as Washington looks, look, I love my job. But as bad as Washington looks from the outside, you should see it from the inside. The mayor talked about common sense and its shortage in Washington, D.C. There's a reason common sense is short in Washington, D.C. Common sense is illegal in Washington, D.C. I've said it before. I said it primarily under last administration, but our country, I've said it many times, our country was founded by geniuses, and it was. But some days I think we're being governed by idiots. When I look around, when I feel inadequate in Washington, and I do, there are a lot of smart people up there. But when I feel inadequate, you know what I do to feel better in Washington? I just look around. And I just say, look, there's so many things I could talk about today. I am so happy to be home. I love coming to Northeast Louisiana. I'm sorry I haven't been here more often. We've been in D.C. for obvious reasons, from daylight to dark. When I get to slip home on the maybe a day, maybe 2 days, I've got meetings. A lot of times they send us to other countries when we have a break for a couple of days to handle diplomatic chores. And of course, with the midterm elections coming up, I'll be out on the campaign trail in other states like Georgia and North Carolina and Michigan. So I just don't get much time at home, and I miss it. I miss Northeast Louisiana. I'm sorry my hair is kind of sticking up. I stayed at a new hotel last night, the Hotel Monroe. This is beautiful. It's beautiful. But I got up early this morning, and I you know, they have these things now where they have the little things you press for the conditioner and the shampoo and the body. I'm used to little bars of soap now and a washcloth. That's the way I was. But anyway, I was half asleep and I couldn't. I think I mixed the conditioner up with the shampoo. So that's why my hair's stinking. But it's a beautiful hotel. I got in last night we were in Alexandria. I got in last night, I don't know, 9 or 10. I'm walking by the bar, headed to my room. I saw Senator Mike Walsworth. He's there in the bar. He was a perfect gentleman. He had a few other people with him. I won't mention them, but they were having a good time. I've known Senator Walsworth a long time. He and I served in state government together. I'll tell you how long I've known Mike Walsworth. I knew Mike Walsworth when he was poor. And that's been a long time. I see so many friends here. I'm not going to start singling everybody out. There's a lot I could talk about. I'm going to talk about one thing in particular and then leave plenty of time for questions. I could talk about money. I sit on the Appropriations Committee. I've been there long enough now, I'm what they call a cardinal, which means I'm in charge of one of the 12 budgets that we put together to comprise the entirety of the budget. I have a rule. I never ask for money from Louisiana, a penny more than we need, but I never accept a penny less than we deserve. And we've had some real successes in terms of bringing our share back to Louisiana. So I could talk about that. We're trying to pass a budget now. I've got a few little nuggets tucked in there for including but not limited to ULM. And we're going to start working on getting that passed when I get back. We could talk about the new Meta data center. I'm so excited for us. I just think it's going to be breathtaking in its scope. We could talk about our great university here. at ULM. Don't get discouraged. I know that our enrollment is down a little bit, but frankly, enrollment's down everywhere a little bit. In some places, a lot. And I just want to thank you, the folks at ULM, for giving so much. Let me say a word, and I could talk about money, but you know, being a U.S. Senator, it's more than just being a money collector. We help make policy. And the decisions that we make impact hundreds of millions of Americans, and because America is the greatest country in all of human history, those decisions impact the world. And we need to get those decisions right. We just finished a major piece of policy legislation that I want to talk about for a few minutes. And then again, I want to take your questions. You probably have heard it referred to as the reconciliation bill or the one big beautiful bill. Let me tell you what a reconciliation bill is. A reconciliation bill is just a little mini budget. The difference is that under the Budget Control Act of 1974, when we do a reconciliation bill, we don't need 60 votes in the Senate to pass it. We just need 51 votes. And that's why whenever a new administration comes into Washington, they almost always try to pass a reconciliation bill. President Biden passed several of them. This one that we just passed, I'm very proud of it. It was close. In fact, it was a tie vote, 50-50. We had to bring in J.D. Vance to break the tie. I could talk for hours about what's in this bill. Its scope, it's extraordinary. It's breathtaking. Every time I look at the bill, I'm reminded of the length and the breadth of this piece of legislation. The main reason we passed the bill was to stop a $4.3 trillion tax cut, or tax increase. In 2017, we cut Americans' taxes, not just individuals, but also businesses, especially small businesses. We cut their taxes dramatically. And if you remember, the economy took off. Median household income in Louisiana took off. Unfortunately, before it could really kick into gear, we went through the pandemic and COVID. But those tax cuts were scheduled to expire at the end of this year. Now, what would that have meant? That would have meant, had we allowed them to expire, that would have meant a $4.3 trillion tax cut, or tax increase on the American people. Everybody's taxes in this country, middle class, upper middle class, billionaires, lower middle, everybody's taxes would have gone up $4.3 trillion. It would have been devastating to our national economy. It would have been devastating to the Louisiana economy. It would have cut our economy and gutted our economy in Louisiana like a fish. It would have cost us 75,000 jobs, that kind of massive tax increase. My numbers show that it would have cut about $15 billion off of our state's economy. The average Louisianian would have seen his or her taxes go up about $2,500. That's what would have happened if we had allowed these tax cuts to expire. Our GDP would have gone down like a fat guy on a seesaw. And so it was imperative that we not let those tax increases take effect. And we did. It was close, 50-50, but we did it. Along the way, we cut some other taxes. We cut taxes on tips. We cut taxes on overtime. We cut taxes on Social Security. We have given Americans a tax deduction for the interest they pay on their automobile loans. We've increased the standard deduction. You'll see that impact immediately. We introduced school choice school choice for everyone in America. Now, the states have to opt in for the school choice, but I believe competition makes all of us better. I went to a public school. I love our public schools. But I'll support anything that'll help our kids learn. Anything. Charter schools, vouchers, you name it, I'll support it. And this bill is going to make that possible. We increase funding for the border. We increase funding for defense. We're going to require the federal government to hold 30 offshore oil and gas lease sales so we can get the oil and gas economy moving again. We managed to grab an extra $100 and $150 million for the Gulf states to try to fight back coastal erosion. This hasn't been talked about much, but you know, in America today, I don't need to tell you, you know as well as I do, you know, unless your soup of the day is tequila, you can't avoid what I'm about to say. America taxes taxes the clothes you wear, the house you live in, cars you drive. It taxes you when you work, taxes you when you play. America even taxes you when you die, for God's sakes. The inheritance tax is the most unfair tax in the world. Well, we tried to get rid of it. We couldn't get rid of it, but we have now made permanent the exemption and indexed it to inflation. So what it means as a practical matter is that 99.9% of all Americans will no longer pay inheritance tax. And I'm proud of that. But I want to mention one part of the bill that you're going to hear more about, particularly from our national media. You will have heard, probably heard it already, unless you've been living in your parents' basement, you have heard that those mean old Republicans are throwing 10.5 million people off of Medicaid. It is true that probably anywhere from 7 to 10 million people currently on Medicaid will lose their Medicaid after this bill takes effect. That's a fact. But here's the rest of the story. They weren't entitled to Medicaid in the first place. They were on Medicaid illegally. They were breaking the law. It's illegal to break the law. Duh! And that part they don't tell you. Medicaid, America's the most generous, our people are the most generous people in the world. You are. I get really mad at my colleagues when they say, oh, you know, people are selfish and they need to pay more in taxes, yada, yada, yada. I've been all over the world. You know what they do in most other countries? When their neighbors get down on their luck, they let them die in a ditch. We don't do that in America. And in our country, when you're hungry, we feed you. In our country, when you're homeless, we'll house you. In our country, when you're too poor to be sick, we will pay for your doctor. But it's extraordinarily expensive. And it becomes more and more expensive each year. And we can't afford to help people who don't need the help, who just want the help. Now, since 2019, the federal budget has exploded. Since 2019, the federal budget is up 55%. You know how much the population of America has increased? 2%. I know we've had inflation, but we are spending enormous amounts of money. We saw that growth in Medicaid. We are now, our Medicaid spending is up about 51% since 2019. We're now close to spending $1 trillion a year on Medicaid. And I am happy to do it for people who need it. I'm talking about pregnant mothers, sick children, the disabled. That's what Medicaid was meant for. But we have some people, I'll give you a few examples. We have found 2.8 million people on Medicaid. They're double dipping. What does that mean? That means that they sign up for Medicaid in Louisiana, and then they run over and sign up for it in Mississippi or Arkansas. What else does that mean? That means they sign up for Medicaid, but they also sign up for Obamacare, which is heavily subsidized by taxpayers, you. It's called double dipping. And it costs about $15 billion a year. We think in 10-year budget cycles, that's $150 billion. And it's illegal. That takes money away from people who truly need Medicaid. So yes, those 3 million folks are going to lose their Medicaid. They weren't entitled to it in the first place. Now, let me give you another example. We have, in the last years, we have had anywhere from 8 million to 12 million. We don't know exactly how many foreign nationals come into our country illegally. We really don't know how many. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are. And it is illegal for a foreign national in our country illegally to access Medicaid. Some states do it anyway. California, for example. They used a loophole. We have closed that loophole. So if you're a foreign national and you're in our country illegally, and by that I mean just totally undocumented, you don't have a green card, you don't have permission, then you're going to lose your Medicaid. We're going to close that loophole. But they weren't entitled to Medicaid in the first place. It was against the law. I'll give you another example. A few years ago, our legislative auditor in Louisiana did an audit of the Louisiana Medicaid rolls. And when you do an audit of Medicaid rolls, you can't look at every single Medicaid account. It's just too many. So the auditors do what's called a statistical sample. And our Louisiana legislative auditor, I remember when he did it, Darryl Prepara, great auditor. He came back and he said, as best I can tell, based on the sample that I did, which really wasn't that big, he said, I have found 1,600 people on Medicaid who are making over $100,000 a year. And I said, well, show me the list, Darryl. Well, the whole list, you could stand on the thing and paint the ceiling. And I just said, well, give me a few pages. I still have it here. I found it in my files. Here's recipient number 1 on Medicaid, making $111,785. Here's another, recipient 16, $103,628. Recipient 18, $114,797. I could keep going. These folks don't qualify for Medicaid. I mean, I think most people tell the truth, particularly on important matters. But I don't know why it is. I may get to heaven, I'm going to ask, but some people don't tell the truth. Some people lie. And under the last administration, the CMS, which runs Medicaid, basically told the states, don't worry about it. Don't check eligibility. Just take everybody's word for it. And we changed that. We're now going to require, under the reconciliation bill, we're going to require eligibility checks twice a year. And we're going to make the Medicaid agency's computer talk to the tax department's computer so we can check people's income. It's common sense. I don't know how many people we're going to find, but when we find them, first they may be prosecuted, but at a minimum they're going to lose their Medicaid. And yes, you'll read in the Washington Post that those folks lost their Medicaid. They weren't entitled to it in the first place. We made another change. In my opinion, Free enterprise has lifted more people out of poverty than all the social programs put together. I think the best social program is a job. Now, not for everybody. A lot of people on Medicaid are really sick. And I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about the disabled. I'm not talking about a young mother at home with 3 children. But we have, as best we can tell, anywhere from 10, well, let me be a little more conservative, 7,500, 7.5 million and 15 million folks on Medicaid between the ages of 19 and 64 who are perfectly healthy. They're not disabled. They don't have dependents. They don't have kids at home. They don't have an adult dependent on them, a mom or dad living with them. And again, I'm not talking here about a mother with a sick child in her arms. These are perfectly healthy people, and they have chosen to receive Medicaid and not to work. We have changed the law. We have said to our folks, look, you can choose not to work, but you're not going to choose to get Medicaid. In order to continue to receive Medicaid, you're going to have to work 20 hours a week, not 40, 20 hours a week, and we'll help you get a job. You're going to have to go back to school or take job training for 20 hours a week, or you're going to have to volunteer and do community service for 20 hours a week. I think it's a fairly reasonable request. I think as a moral principle, and frankly as an economic principle, those who can work should work. Those who can work should work. And, or as my late father used to put it, he'd say, son, sometimes the best way to get back on your feet is to get off your ass. And he was right. Yes, those folks who choose not to work will lose their Medicaid. But they weren't entitled to it in the first place. So when you hear these stories, I want you to think back about the other side of the story and understand the truth. I don't want to end on a negative note here. I'm an optimist, folks. Now, I'm an optimist who worries. Sometimes I'm a paranoid optimist, but I'm an optimist. I believe that Northeast Louisiana's and America's future can be better than our present or our past. I believe that. I believe that we're only as good as our dreams. We shouldn't fear our future. We ought to grab for it. That's what you're doing in Northeast Louisiana. We ought to grab for it. I always believed, and I'll continue to believe, that we're only as valuable, each of us, as our children. But it's a dangerous, different world out there, and I'm not going to bubble wrap it. We're going to have to do some things differently. And at least where I work in Washington, D.C., I can tell you, the water is not going to clear up in Washington, D.C. until we get the pigs out of the creek. And nobody is coming to save us in America but ourselves. Nobody. Look, representing you in the United States Senate is an honor of a lifetime. When I leave my little overpriced Capitol Hill apartment in the morning and go over to the Capitol, the first time I see the dome, I still get goosebumps. When I'm on the Senate floor speaking, I still get goosebumps. It's such an honor for me to represent you, and I'll keep fighting for you, folks. I can't promise you I'll win every fight, but I'll promise you this: by God, I will refuse to be beaten. And when you tell me to come home, I'll come home. But you'll never be able to say that Kennedy quit. He fought until his last breath. God bless you, and God bless Northeast Virginia. Thank you. Thank you. God, that's great. That's great. Thank you. I need y'all to talk to my wife. Every time I go home, it's going to be the case this time. I always wonder. I love Becky. We've been married, I don't know, we've been married a long time, but every time I come home, I say, I wonder if this time Becky changed the locks on me, you know? Let me answer your questions. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. We can talk about, I don't know, what's in the news. What's that lady's name? Sweeney? Talk about. Maybe we shouldn't talk about that. We can talk about Cracker Barrel if you want to. We can. What's on your mind? Anything. Anything. Just stand up and scream at me. Yeah. That's okay. The question is, explain the changes that we made to eliminating taxes on Social Security. Well, first of all, we passed the bill, but what always happens is the Department of Treasury has to promulgate regulations to implement it, and we're pushing them really hard to get it implemented early. But you do get a deduction. We had to do it because of the parameters of the Budget Control Act, so that you get a deduction on a part of the income that you get from Social Security, so it's not taxable. Now, it does phase out. I don't recall at what point, but if you're making $200,000 a year and getting Social Security, no problem. You earned it. You're entitled to it, but you're not going to be qualified for the deduction. But for most Americans, I can tell you, it will cause their Social Security taxes to go down. And I don't want you to worry about Social Security. Y'all hear all the time, Social Security is going to run out of money. And the Social Security Trust Fund is almost broke. Well, it's almost broke because the federal government took all the money and they left it in its place an IOU. But I can promise you, just because the trust fund is not there, if it goes broke, we'll just take the money out of the general fund. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to have to take a hard look at all of our social programs at some point, because we are spending, we've got $37 trillion in debt. It's just a fact. And I think President Trump is right to try to reduce it. If we keep going like we've been going, the president's talking about renaming the Department of Defense. I say we rename the Department of Treasury. We ought to call it the Department of the Debt, because there's no longer treasurer there. So that's what we're working on, trying to reduce the spending, but it's not going to impact Social Security. What else? Back corner, some? Yes, ma'am. You have to yell it out for me. Okay. When? Well, the question is, when will people start being arrested? Well, if you come to Washington, D.C., they are being arrested. Washington, D.C. is like any other major urban center. They have a crime problem. I don't care what people say. I mean, I live there. I see it. And I know you're talking about something else, but let me address that first. You're talking about politicians. I'm against term limits for politicians. I think they ought to serve their whole full sentences. It is illegal for me to go to my bank and borrow money to buy a second home and tell the bank that it is my primary residence. Why is that? Because it means I get a cheaper interest rate. Why is that important? Because the federal government, through Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, probably guarantees that loan. And it's illegal. A lot of people do it, I know, but it's still illegal. And the people, the elected officials who have allegedly done that, likely will be prosecuted. But you have to investigate first, and you've got to prove it. There are also investigations being conducted about the Russia collusion hoax. And I lived through it. I watched it. And lie after lie after lie was told. But so much of the documentation is classified, and they're going through the classified data right now. And I don't know if anybody will be prosecuted. But I know there were people involved, like James Comey, like John Brennan. These are nasty folks. They will unplug your life support system in order to charge your cell phone. They don't care about them. I know these guys. I know these guys. And they did more to hurt the FBI and the Department of Justice as an institution than anybody in my lifetime. And they're going to be investigated. But they're Americans. They're entitled to due process. What else? What area of the federal government has the biggest amount of fat? The biggest amount of fat? Yeah, let me tell you about the federal budget. The federal budget is like most budgets in government. It's not like a cow, where you can generally go look at a cow and you can see big globs of fat. It's like, well, it's also like cows in the sense that the fat is layered throughout. Let's take the Department of State, USAID. We cut a lot of money there. Does every penny that the Department of State spent in aid to other countries, was every penny of it wasted? No. But some of it was. And in order to separate the wheat from the chaff, you've got to go through those budgets line by line by line. We don't do that when we pass a budget in Congress. The bureaucrats do that. And so when we were going through President Biden's budget under USAID, we found stuff like condoms for people in Zambia. I'm not even going to go into all this. It was, I call it spending porn. It was just clearly irresponsible stuff, and that's what we've cut out. But the only way, and we haven't passed the bill, but we're going to try to do that, is to have Congress work with Russ Vought at the Office of Management and Budget and go through the spending by the bureaucracy, line by line by line. So you can't really say it's all in one place. It's sprinkled throughout, but it's there. And for 10 years, when I first got on the Appropriations Committee, I remember one day, there were about 35 of us. It's the biggest committee in the Senate. I hadn't been on that long. We passed the President's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And I remember I'm thinking, with the tax cuts that we passed in the 2017 bill, we're going to run some short-term deficits before they kick in to stimulate the economy. So I said, I'm looking at the budget, and we're all in the room together, and the old marble ceilings and all that. And I said, I want to make a motion, Mr. Chair. This year, we automatically give federal employees, we've got some really good ones, we've got some really bad ones too. We automatically give federal employees 3 to 4% pay raises every year. So I made a motion. I said, this year, in light of the tax cuts, which means our revenues will be down short term, let's eliminate the increase. You would have thought I had passed gas in church. And the chair said, "You really want to vote on that?" I said, "Absolutely." I insisted on a roll call vote. I got 2 votes. I looked up at it. I expected it on one side, my Democratic friends, but my Republican friends wouldn't vote for it. I looked at every one of them, tried to make eye contact. All of a sudden, they got something important on their phone. I got 2 votes, me and Cindy Hyde-Smith from Mississippi. That's what you're facing in Washington. In Washington, D.C., reducing the spending, it's like going to heaven. Everybody wants to go to heaven. How many of you are ready to make the trip right now? That's the way it is with spending in Washington. But we've got to do something. We cannot sustain this. And if President Trump does nothing else but highlight the fact that we've got to live within our means, he will have accomplished a lot. Somebody up here had a question.
Is there any discussion regarding tariffs for equipment purchased overseas for U.S. manufacturers?
Tariffs? Look, I've had many discussions with the president about tariffs. The president loves tariffs. Have you noticed? The president loves tariffs like the devil loves sin, okay? I didn't call the president the devil now. He loves tariffs. And I think tariffs have their place. And when he started out with his tariff program of saying we need reciprocity, and the president made the point, absolutely true, that for many years, primarily China, but other countries too, have taken advantage of the United States. The United States is the wealthiest country in all of human history. All foreign countries want to sell here, so they would sell into our country, but they wouldn't let our people sell into theirs. And they erected other trade barriers to protect themselves. And it was wrong. The worst was China. America made China a leader in exports. We admitted them to the World Trade Organization. It was December 9th, 2001. China started cheating December 10th. And they're not ashamed of it. They consider that's the way to do business. They'll steal the hair off your head now. I'm telling you. That's just the way it is. So the president said, we're going to stop it. And he started talking about reciprocity. And his point was, if you lower your tariffs, I will lower my tariffs so they're even. Well, I'm thinking, that is way cool. I like this. Because tariffs are an intervention by government into the free enterprise system. I have begged the Prime Minister of Canada, the new Prime Minister, to make this deal with President Trump. Go to President Trump, I suggested to him respectfully, and say, Mr. President, I want to go to 0 tariffs in Canada, but I want America to go to 0 tariffs. And then let the companies compete in a free enterprise system. May the best price, the best product win. And if that's what we're talking about, I support it. But the president, I don't think he's entirely decided just yet what he wants to do on the tariffs. And he gets mad at me when I'm asked the question, how is this going to impact the economy? I tell the truth. I tell him the truth. I don't know. I have no idea. We're in uncharted waters. We haven't had tariffs like this across the world in 100 years. It may not have any impact. It may be beneficial. It may cause inflation. It may not cause inflation. I just don't know. But I know it has created uncertainty in the business community. I guess I got time for one more. Yes, sir. I'll do 2 more. One of you go ahead. Has a what problem? The Federal Reserve has a,
Cross-border payment efficiency problem. We send money overseas, it's inefficient, it's slow, it's expensive. In the near future, do you see XRP, which was built over 10 years ago to solve this, or any ISO 20022 cryptocurrency for that matter, replacing our outdated system SWIFT to finally power the Fed's payment rails on a public, transparent, decentralized ledger for America to see?
I'm gonna put you on the fence, okay? Well, first, the SWIFT system, we need the SWIFT system, and it's based on the US dollar. It's terribly important. If I were king for a day, I'm not, and I don't aspire to be, I'd throw Russia's banks out of the SWIFT system tomorrow. Federal Reserve is, I think you're gonna see over the next 5 years a very close examination of the Federal Reserve by the United States Congress and by the current administration. What's working, what's not working. The Federal Reserve has two responsibilities: keep inflation down and keep employment up. And all that money that was spent dealing with COVID, caused inflation. Stevie Wonder could have seen it coming. I mean, you have that much money chasing those few goods, you're going to have inflation. You can write that down and take it home to mama every single time. And we tried to tell the Federal Reserve, and we tried to tell President Biden, but all the economists said, no, we're smarter than you. Well, we had inflation. And inflation is the most pernicious thing that can happen to your economy. Without fail. It gutted the American people like a fish, and it's still hurting them. And so the Federal Reserve had to raise interest rates. And it did the right thing. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten inflation down. There are only two ways to get inflation down. You can raise interest rates and try to slowly cool the economy, or you can just throw the economy into a recession. Yeah, that'll kill inflation. Might even put you into deflation. You'll also see unemployment jump to about 10%, and we don't want that. So they've gotten inflation down, but it's pretty sticky. It's right at 3%. Based on the last job numbers, I don't have any inside information, but I expect the Federal Reserve to start cutting interest rates at its next meeting, because the jobs report we got wasn't that good. It was still good. We're still I wouldn't trade our economy for any other economy in the world. We're in much better shape than Canada or Europe or China. China's experiencing deflation. We're in better shape than India. We're in better shape than a lot of the South American countries, but we've got to be careful. Yes, sir. Last one.
Are we being successful in controlling the crime in Washington, not from the political side, but from the street side?
Well, the numbers I see say yes. The president was able to send additional help into Washington because under our Constitution, Washington, D.C. is not a state. Washington, D.C. is what's called an enclave, which is under the jurisdiction of the federal government. And the problem we had in Washington, D.C., we did pass a law a number of years ago that says Washington, D.C., though it's not a state or even a city, it's an enclave, it can have its own government. So it can have a mayor and city council. And the problem we found in the last 10 years is that the local government is totally, extraordinarily, impressively, disgustingly incompetent. A few years ago, one of the reasons they have a crime problem, they cut their police budget by 15%. The city council in Washington, D.C., they believe that cops are a bigger problem than criminals. They do. The city council, and to some extent the mayor, they think that if and I'm not saying cops are always right, but they're almost always right. Most of them are right. And frankly, I'll give you a tip. Cops will leave you alone unless you do illegal stuff. But anyway, the local government in Washington D.C., their belief is that if a cop has to shoot a criminal, it's automatically the cop's fault. But if a criminal shoots a cop, it's automatically the gun's fault. And our crime went through the roof. And they say, well, it was declining. I don't know. It was their numbers. And even if it was better, it was not well. And so the federal government had the authority to send in reinforcements. It'll be trickier in other cities. I mean, I would have, a rational person would have said, a rational city government would have said, look, we welcome all the help we can get. But, you know, you understand the politics. President Trump, I don't think he's always right. He exists loudly. I know that. I think I agree with most of the things he does. Some I don't agree with. He did the right thing in Washington, D.C. You know, I'll end on this note. The ironic thing to me is that the press is always banging on us, beating us about the head and shoulders. You're not transparent. We want transparency. We want transparency. Well, Trump's about the most transparent president I've ever seen in my life. I told him one time, I said, Mr. President, I've been watching you a long time, and here's my observation. You grow anxious when you have an unexpressed thought. Think about that. He just lets it rip. And he asked me one time, he said, Kennedy, have you seen all my tweets? I said, yes, sir. And he said, what do you think? And I said, Mr. President, how can I put this? Tweeting a little bit less would not cause brain damage. And he said, you don't like my tweets? I said, no, I like steak. I just don't like to eat 8 of them at one meal. Anyway, I'm not sure he got it. What you see is what you get. Folks, it's been an honor. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator.